For years, Europe relied heavily on Russia for its energy needs, with about 40% of the EU's natural gas coming from Russia before 2022, and countries like Germany depending on Russian pipelines for over half of their supply. This reliance was driven by Russia's abundant and competitively priced gas, making it seem like a stable long-term partnership until 2022, when Russia's invasion of Ukraine forced Europe to rethink its energy strategy. Supporting Ukraine meant cutting ties with Russian energy, prompting swift EU sanctions and a bold plan to eliminate Russian fossil fuels by 2027, leaving Europe scrambling for alternatives. The first major shift was toward the United States, with American liquefied natural gas, LNG, becoming a crucial lifeline. By 2023, over half of U.S. LNG exports were directed to Europe, helping to avert a full-blown crisis. However, concerns over political instability in the U.S., especially under Donald Trump's America First approach, raised fears about the future reliability and cost of U.S. gas, pushing Europe to explore other energy partners, including Canada. With a strong trade relationship under the 2017 Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, Canada emerged as a promising alternative, boasting massive oil and gas reserves and a history of stable diplomatic ties with the EU. At the same time, Canada was re-evaluating its energy trade after facing tensions with the U.S., including threats of tariffs under the Trump administration, which underscored the need to diversify its markets. Canada's Energy Minister, Jonathan Wilkinson, sought to strengthen ties with the U.S. through an energy and critical minerals alliance, but expanding exports to Europe became an increasingly attractive option for both economic and strategic reasons. CETA had already fueled a surge in trade, with goods traded between Canada and the EU jumping from €53.3 billion in 2020 to €77 billion in 2022, a 66% increase, and Canadian exports to Europe rising significantly. Now, Canada sees a major opportunity in LNG exports, as Europe seeks to break free from Russian energy, though Prime Minister Justin Trudeau insists on a solid business case before making large-scale commitments. As global energy dynamics continue to shift, Canada is accelerating efforts to reduce reliance on the U.S. and expand its energy trade worldwide. As tensions rise between Canada and the U.S. over trade policies, a debate emerges on whether Canada should join the United States, as suggested by President Donald Trump, or maintain its independence despite economic pressures. For decades, Canada has heavily relied on the U.S. as its primary trade partner, with 80% of its exports heading south, particularly crude oil, which brought in $143 billion in 2023 alone. However, in February 2025, Trump imposed fresh tariffs on Canadian goods under the guise of national security, significantly impacting Canadian businesses. In response, Canada accelerated its long-term strategy to diversify trade, aiming to boost non-U.S. exports by 50% by 2025, securing deals with Indonesia, Ecuador, and energy-hungry markets in Asia like China and Japan. The completion of the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion allowed for quicker crude oil exports, with China alone purchasing 240,000 barrels per day by late 2024. Japan, increasingly reliant on liquefied natural gas, LNG, has also become a key partner, prompting Canadian officials to push for new LNG deals. One ambitious project, the Energy Saguenay Initiative in Quebec, proposed a $7.2 billion hydro-powered LNG facility but was scrapped in 2022 due to environmental concerns, particularly its impact on beluga whales. However, with economic uncertainty and trade tensions mounting, discussions about reviving the project have resurfaced, though Quebec's government insists that environmental concerns must be addressed before moving forward. As Canada navigates these challenges, the question remains, should it deepen ties with the U.S. or continue forging a more independent economic path? Let us know what you think in the comments below. The decline of beluga whales, with their population dropping to around 900 by 2012 and shrinking by 1% annually, is further threatened by the proposed project's plan to send 300 LNG tankers through the Sagu Fjord each year, increasing noise, collision risks, and environmental strain, while also contributing to a significant carbon footprint of 50 million tons of CO2 annually, equivalent to emissions from 15 million cars, which contradicts Canada's climate commitments and the Paris Agreement. Meanwhile, Canada's energy landscape is shifting, as it has long been the primary natural gas supplier to the U.S., peaking at 3.78 trillion cubic feet of exports in 2022, but with geopolitical tensions rising, Canada is now looking to diversify by targeting European and Asian markets, with the LNG Canada project in British Columbia set to begin exports in mid-2025 at 1.8 billion cubic feet per day, potentially doubling in a second phase to 3.6 billion, a move that could disrupt U.S. energy markets by reducing Canadian supply, potentially driving up prices, particularly during extreme weather, impacting industries and consumers. Simultaneously, Canada is boosting crude oil exports to Asia through the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, tripling its capacity to 890,000 barrels per day, a shift that could squeeze U.S. refineries dependent on Canadian heavy crude and raise gas prices domestically, while also affecting broader North American trade, as retaliatory tariffs between the U.S. and Canada have strained the USMCA trade agreement, complicating industries like automotive manufacturing and increasing costs for consumers, all while China strategically strengthens its grip on critical minerals, further influencing global energy and trade dynamics.